Bitcoin is crashing in a 5% move from the all-time highs, and the sky is falling, and consequences will never be the same. As we go over in today's video, I want to be providing in a more sincere tone, a more holistic view of where we're at in the greater scheme of things, really in the higher term timeframes to the lower term timeframes, because I do think that this sort of view is probably going to be hopefully comforting and maybe even illuminating to some people out there, at least based off the social media venue posts. If you have been in this market for a while though, you already know how these things go. Before we get into that, however, I want to once again let you know that we do have our Black Friday sale going on with the code BLACK in all capitals. It'll go until next Monday, and it will award you 20% off of all of the programs and services in our Teachable School, which you can find a link to in the description below. Actually, not only that, but for the Quant Prime service, you will get 25% off for the lifetime of your subscription, which is the biggest discount that we ever do for this. And, obviously it lives for the life of your subscription, and it's my favorite service because it's the one that has changed my life. I mean, it allows me to automate my trades and also expedite my strategy creation and back testing. In fact, using that tool right here, we can once again revisit that Monday strategy that we went over yesterday. In this case, very likely to be a loss, but I do want to show how even in the event of a loss, this is quite useful information to be aware of, because again, this strategy, very simple: opening a long trade at 00 UTC on Monday and then closing that at 10 a.m. UTC on Tuesday has yielded these results over time. Basically, a coin flips probability and whether it's likely to close positively or negatively. But when we go into the performance summary right here, we can find that the average losing trade loses an average of about 3%. If we take yesterday's open to current price, which keep in mind this is going to close very soon, that's almost bang on 3% differential right there. So playing out, in a slightly expected manner right there. This is also, of course, coming after, and I know this is gambler's fallacy, but it is interesting, nonetheless, at least in my opinion, 4 consecutive wins before the last loss. So, when you do have something that has a 50% probability, it's like 4 in a row. It's does seem to be a little bit excessive. So fair enough. Anyways, moving on from there, I do want to revisit sort of our weekend analysis and then yesterday's analysis. Over the weekend, we were looking at bearish divergence on our medium-term timeframes as likely to beget a short-term correction. I believe that's exactly what we're seeing right now. We do see 1, 2, 3 drives of bearish divergence coming off of the 12-hour RSI right here. And, pretty much all momentum also is actually turning down across the board. So Bitcoin is in a bit of a short-term correction. Based off of yesterday's ranges, we were looking at 98.8 to the upside versus 96 to the downside. Obviously, Bitcoin broke below that range low. And at that point, we were going to look at the weekly HPDR as likely to, test the next range high, or actually it'd be range low, I guess, compared to where price is at right now. And so we actually have seen that wick down, which was just around about $93,000. You can see hasn't exactly perfectly tested the 76 level here, but close enough is close enough. I believe it's the same thing on spot price action as well. Yeah, pretty much in terms of current price. So, if you are looking at this from a greater picture, this correction, as we spoke about yesterday, it's not anything out of the ordinary. These are all range plays here, especially on higher term timeframes. So, has anything really changed as far as the greater look? No. Where do things start to change, however? Things start to change when you see Bitcoin closing below $92,000 on a higher term time frame, or if you see Bitcoin, of course, trade significantly below last week's low. Until then, this probably is an opportunity. I suspect Bitcoin's going to take some time here, ebbing and flowing a bit. But keep in mind that not only have we hit that critical level on the weekly HPDR, but if we go ahead and draw a Fibonacci retracement for this rally, off of the base from what was this 12th of November to the current all-time high, Bitcoin is resting right, or has not, it's not actually resting, but it bounced off of the 50% level right here at 92,500. So, this would be a very, very good level to hold if Bitcoin is indeed going to push to new highs, probably, maybe not before the end of November. I mean, that is maybe a little bit faster than I think is realistic, but perhaps in early December, something like that. Now, of course, if Bitcoin does break this to the downside, meaning that it closes below on a 4-hour time frame basis, then I would be looking at the next major fibs as relevant areas of interest. To the downside, the 618 is 90,850, and then below that, you got the 786 at 88,500 or so. So, just one before the next. And of course, the upside, if Bitcoin does pop back in to that range low and reclaim that at 96,000 bucks on a 4-hour time frame closing basis, probably a good indication that Bitcoin is putting in a low here. Again, it can take some time. It could look something like this. It pops up, maybe even all the way close to like 97 or 98, comes back down, sets in a slightly higher low, and then kind of works its way upwards and onwards from there. This can take time, obviously, but Bitcoin is, again, working off of these extreme conditions that we saw here on not just our medium-term timeframes, but also the daily timeframe as well. I do suspect that this is going to extremely likely lead into what I keep on referring to as the double derp signal of typically death and despair, or at least, okay, I shouldn't say death and despair because that's going to imply to many people, like the end of cycle type stuff. No, but like a real major correction, which can come to the tune of, easily 20%. So again, putting things into perspective here, Bitcoin has played out what? From top to bottom thus far, about almost a 7% correction. It feels like a lot, or at least it seems to many people, it feels like a lot. But in the grand scheme of things, this is not. Bitcoin has played out many 20% corrections already within this cycle that began in 2023. Keep in mind, going back here to the beginning of 2023, Bitcoin played out a 22% correction right off the bat, followed by two more over the next 6 months. Boom, 20% right there, and another 20% right here. Then again, in the beginning of 2024, from top to bottom, very quick one, but yes, indeed, it was there, 21% correction, and then actually several 20% corrections over the past 8 months, where Bitcoin was more or less holding a range, but big moves happened within that range. So, do I think that Bitcoin's going to get a 20% correction from where it's at right now? No, actually, I don't. I do think I'm still of the opinion. It's not that I'm still of the opinion. There's nothing really new to my analysis, honestly. Still of the opinion that Bitcoin, likely pushes higher from here. Maybe it comes down a little bit further, closer to 90,000 or 89, something like that. That's fine. It doesn't really do anything. That would just be a daily higher low. And we haven't really seen an obvious daily higher low since where? Since, back here at 68,000 bucks. So, is it relevant to be expecting, maybe not expecting, but just to even have Bitcoin actually try for a higher low after a nearly $30,000 move straight to the upside? I think yes. So again, what I'm trying to say is, one, things aren't actually that bad right now. Can they go a little bit lower? Yeah, sure. Again, I'd just be looking at these ranges as relevant to the downside if Bitcoin breaks below there. But for now, it looks like Bitcoin should put in a little bit of a short-term rally. And, if we're looking at even our medium-term time frame RSIs, it looks like Bitcoin is going to print some hidden bullish divergence. Likely again, there's the 4-hour, here's the 6-hour. The RSI is already making significantly lower lows than we did see way back on over here when Bitcoin was trading at about 90,000 bucks and even 87,000 bucks back in middle of November of this month. So, this seems to be, at least as of now, a pretty normal correction to me. I don't have any major opinions to change as long as Bitcoin's above, especially last week's low on a closing basis. And hey, if Bitcoin were to come back down below there and close a weekly below there, sure, something else is going on, time to consider other things. But for right now, this seems to be a pretty damn good place to try for a higher low. It can just take some time. And again, that can come with a move slightly below 90,000 bucks. Doesn't really change too much. Anyways, I do want to make sure that I'm hitting all my notes over here. Okay, yes, we got that. Worst case scenario, perhaps Bitcoin back down to 86,000 bucks. I do think it's going to be difficult to get things much lower than that, if that even does happen to begin with. But like I said, if you're looking for objective areas to be looking at, well, it would be these, just taking it one by one. And for right now, Bitcoin trying a little bit of a rally up to 50% level. So I'd give it a chance here. And short-term very likely does try a little bit higher. I suspect that our short-term momentum oscillators are turning back up. Let's see. Actually, no. 4-hour time frame is continuing to go to the downside as long as Bitcoin's below 97.4. What about 6-hour time frame? Probably also down. Yeah, below 96.450. 12-hour time frame. 98,350. Yeah, so perhaps I am wrong on that, or at least if Bitcoin holds sideways here, it'll allow these things to reset, and then you get very likely another try to the upside. So that's why I think in this case, ranges are probably the easier thing to be going off of, as Bitcoin does essentially play out, its first short and medium term correction in quite some time. Anyways, I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off. I'll leave you with one last thing, just kind of an insight as to something that we're working on in the background. It's not ready for release today, but we'll have more information on it soon. We've actually constructed pretty much a done for you indicator right here that does actually scalp Bitcoin quite well in the lower term timeframes. Still working on it a bit. Need to shore up a few things in the background, but I think it'll be ready relatively soon. So just a quick look at it as we get prepared for it, and some exciting times ahead, I do suspect. So that's where we'll end things for today. Oh fuck, I forgot to let everyone know. If you use the Blowfin link below, you have now gotten 15% cash back. It's up from 10% now. So we spoke yesterday, or I spoke yesterday with them. We got the deal done, and yeah, bigger cash back now. So that just means more of your own trading fees back into your account. I'm also very appreciative for this for everyone who signed up, because I'm using the same link, so I also get that same reduction, which is really nice, because when you're a little bit more actively trading, any money that you can save is just more money in your pocket, really. Anyways, that's where I'll leave things off. Once again, take care, much love, and see you hopefully on tomorrow's live stream.